Frank Evans will explain about some of the different types of commonly used bits. With so many bits available, it's hard to tell what's right for you and your horse. With Frank's years of being around horses, he's learned a lot about different bits. First, the snaffle.
This is the most common bit used today. Everybody loves it, and it is a great bit. I always started all my horses with a snaffle bit. Contrary to popular belief, however, it is not a real mile bit because it has a pinching action on the horse's mouth, which most people don't realize. It's easy to make a great horse with nothing but a snaffle bit, but it's also easy to ruin a horse's mouth by the overuse, toughen it up, getting the horse pulled, losing his vertical flexion. But it is a great bit, and in the hands of a not too great a horseman, it's pretty hard for him to make too many mistakes. We always started him on snaffle, but we also always got him out of a snaffle just as soon as possible.
The D-ring snaffle.
It is a vast improvement over the plain ring. It has not too many advantages. It has a little more, if you start pulling on one side, it stops a bit from going through the mouth quite so easy. We used to take the plain snaffle and even put leather guards on it to do what this bit does. This is a vast improvement in the snaffle bit.
The full cheek snaffle.
This is a great bit if you got a horse that you're having trouble getting lateral flexion. You can't pull this through his mouth so easy. This bit is used more for driving than actually riding, but it's a good bit, and it answers that purpose of not being able to pull it through his mouth. This is called a twisted wire snaffle, and it can be real rough. In fact, if you notice the action of it, this comes back like this. You're working on the bars of the mouth, and regardless of how you do it, you're going to hit one bar here and one bar here. And after all else fails, you try to go to this, and if you can't do it with this, you'd better find a new trainer, or you'd better find somebody with a better bit, because this is probably the end of the rope as far as I'm concerned.
The snaffle covered with hard plastic.
When they first started using this, everybody thought this is going to be the answer to start a horse. Frankly, it is not the answer to start a horse. You don't get enough bite on this to actually make the horse pay attention to you. When this first came out, I think I was the first one to buy one to try it, and it was a total failure. In those days, it was a big black rubber bit, and I didn't like it at all. I don't like this bit.
The Tom Thumb bit.
If I had a green rider on a pretty well-broke horse that I was trying to develop hands, I'd probably put this on. It's a mild little bit, so he isn't going to hurt the horse and while he's learning to ride.
The Coppermouth swivel shank bit.
I think it's a pretty good deal. It isn't necessary as far as I'm concerned, but it's a good deal because you're in swivel. Lots of times you're fighting when if you pull this way, you're going to pull this way up here. You see, I don't see too much advantage, but there's a lot of people like them. I've always said in all the years, 50 years of training, that if your hands are good enough, any bit is a great bit. If your hands are bad, every bit is bad. I've always contended that you could take anything. Again, if your hands are good enough, you could turn out a top horse. I think the people like Jimmy Williams, I've seen him with just a rope around the jaw. Made a beautiful reining horse out of it. And there's people with bad hands that didn't make any difference what they use. So the answer is not always bits. That's one of the reasons I developed this bit, because it applies so many people can use it without hurting the horse. Today you go into a tack room, and here is a tack shop, and here is 200 bits out there. And you go in, and here is in most places, a sales clerk that is not a horseman or horsewoman, and you ask them what bit. Well, is your horse tough mouth? Yes, he's tough mouth. So they said, we'll give you a shank this long, or we'll give you a double twisted wire snaffle. That's about all you get. So that, where are you going? You're going to have to go to a top professional that has good hands and is knowledgeable about bits. And they're hard to find. I know when I was in the training business, I had 5 assistants. I spent as much time on their hands and bits as I did on teaching them to train, literally, to keep them out of the horse's mouth, give the horse a chance to react after they ask it to do something.
And Frank Evans' answer to getting out of the horse's mouth and giving the horse a chance is his uniquely designed Mi'kmaq bits.
You know, I couldn't tell you this for sure, but I think he went to sleep with it every night. He loved it so much. He'd ride horses 8 hours a day.
In an interview done for the TV show Horse World, Frank Evans explained why he invented the bit.
We would develop a horse's mouth, put a nice headset, a good mouth, good vertical flexion, and then come time for the owner to ride, and we felt sorry for the horse. So we tried to develop something to protect the horse's mouth long enough for this owner to ride, learn to ride, and that's our job in the training business, teach that owner to ride. That was the second reason. The first reason was we started all our horses on snaffles, which is, we never found anything better. But it was always a problem on how to shift that horse from a snaffle to a leverage or hard bit without messing up the horse. And that became a problem, and I developed and tried a number of things, never found anything. One night, he was vice president of a bank, had a nice horse in there with me, and I developed this horse, and he had a beautiful headset. He come out to ride his own horse, which is normal. And when he got through, I got on the horse. He had left. I had tears in my eyes. He'd messed his horse's mouth up. So I thought there's got to be some way to develop or to take care of that horse's mouth while the owner rides it. So I thought, well, if I could rig up a cord to go through and affect the bit so that it would not hit the horse any single time, that'd be it. So I kept thinking about it. Finally, the thought hit me, and I went and drew a little picture. The next morning, I went out in my little shop, and I built one, tried it on a horse, and it worked. You could just feel it. This is an awful-looking monstrosity that we first made, but it worked. I could feel it work. You could just tell that it was going to work. That was the history of this. So this happened in 1955. We got the patent. Now, the big secret of this, I find, is in the mouthpiece. If you drop a normal round bit slightly in a horse's mouth, within reason, it contributes substantially to the ease of vertical flexion. With this bit, any time you turn it, it automatically drops 1 inch lower, so that you have an automatic deal on his mouth to enhance the vertical flexion. And of course, without vertical flexion, you got nothing. The next thing that's all important in this bit is that when you take up on your reins, you automatically touch the horse in the nose, the mouth, and the jaw. There's no way you cannot unequal that pressure. And that's, I think, one of the big secrets. It's very difficult, even for bad hands, to mess up a horse's mouth with this, because it's pretty hard to jerk them hard enough that you're going to hurt them.
Although the bit was initially developed for bad hands, many good trainers with good hands in all disciplines are getting remarkable results like no other bit.
Well, it wasn't developed for those with good hands. It was developed for those with bad hands more. But this bit in the trainers, many trainers, yes, are using it. All of their students and all of their customers use this bit, because another great thing about it is that you do not have to worry about switching bits. You can put a hard show bit on after you've used this bit. In fact, many trainers, Billy Harris, Lou Roper, and so forth, all their horses and all their students use this bit continuously, except the day of the show when they put a show bit in their mouth, so that it keeps the horse fresh. That's the big thing. We've got horses showing now 15 or 20 years old that have never had anything but this bit except the day they show, and they're winning.